Welcome! Okay, hello there. And welcome to your pre-recorded Spirit and Soul Sunday. So, I believe that this is going to be my last pre-recorded or Spirit and Soul Sunday. Maybe I'll do one more live, but I'm going to move over these like content heavy videos to YouTube simply because they are so hard to upload on Instagram, and I just really don't feel like diluting my content in order to be able to put it on Instagram. But anyway, so with that being said, I have noticed a reoccurring theme this week, and sometimes I refer to these as conscious collective thoughts or conscious releasement. And I've noticed that there are a lot of people who are struggling with the idea of letting go of something or someone that they have noticed or identified is toxic, or a toxic behavior or something that is toxic for them, and at the same time wanting or wishing that they had that thing. And so it's actually challenging or difficult because they find themselves in a place where they are actually mourning and or grieving the loss of the thing that they once lost. So what I want to say first of all is, friends, it is very, very, very important to remember to be kind to yourself and to understand that in times and situations of growth, there is room and space for compassion, because you're moving on and identifying that something is toxic for you or someone is toxic or behavior is toxic because you're ready to grow. But it doesn't mean that you can't feel bad that you're no longer going to have that thing. Okay? And so you can move on and you can like miss and grieve at the same time. That is okay, and that is absolutely normal. I also say that it's like really scary and tricky also because people, when they are in a transitional period of letting go of something, they're so used to what they're used to, or the behavior or the emotion that they're used to from the past, that it's really scary to do something different, whether that is defining a boundary in a relationship between you and someone else, or maybe it is like putting in new behaviors or stopping something. It is uncomfortable settling or being in an emotion that is unnatural or not normal for you, because you're not used to it. So even if something's destructive and toxic in my life, because I've been there time and time and time again, I know how to cope with that. So an example of that would be, I know what songs to listen to, I know what friends to call, I know what like coping mechanisms and interventions, and I'm going to journal it out, and then I know that it's going to be better because I have done A, B, C, and D. But the reality is, when we are looking to do something new, the feeling is so uncomfortable that sometimes it feels odd, or you don't know what to do with yourself because you have not had to, or you haven't had to put yourself in a position of like strength or vulnerability, or and then it's kind of like this odd feeling. So for example, if I draw a boundary with you in a relationship and I say, okay, I'm no longer tolerating that, it feels good and I should be proud of myself because I've driven a clear-cut boundary. But at the same time, it might be weird for me because maybe I'm not used to saying no, or I'm not used to being assertive. And so if I'm like me, or at least like an empath, or you have other emotions attached to that person, maybe it's that you're not allowing them to do something that would benefit them, but it's because it's at the stake of your own well-being. You still feel bad because you know that you were in a position to make something easier for them. And so it's okay to be hurt that you can't help them, and that uncomfortableness gets easier and easier to time. The more and more I stand tall in my boundaries with other people, and I say, no, that makes me uncomfortable, or no, that is not something that I want to be a part of, the easier then it feels to accept that and take in my new power. But the problem is that I haven't created my personal mechanisms to make me feel rooted and secure in that nature. The same thing holds for behaviors. And so honestly, I always talk about the idea, if you're going to take something away, it's always really good to introduce something. So an example would be, you can't like replace a poor habit without giving yourself a new reward or something to take over that habit. So for example, maybe you're going to stop smoking. I know that's like really random and off from what we're talking about, but it's a toxic behavior. But it has its rewards, because I explain this to people. I read this article a long time ago that talked about how when you go smoke, you get a 15-minute break. It's socially conditioned to allow you to have breaks, and you get camaraderie. And also, this is crazy, but smoking replicates some of the same things that you get when you meditate, because you take those deep inhales and then you exhale when you're smoking. And so in some ways it's also like a form of meditation. And then obviously you have your drug and like altering, or like, you know, your drug altering states to smoking. But the reality is that you would miss that, and you would miss that decompression, and you would miss that community and those that you smoked with. And so maybe you replace that with, I'm gonna go with another coworker who works with me who does not smoke, but they take every 10 minutes before the next hour, they get up and they walk, and they make sure that they've got their Fitbits Dyson. So then at least you're still getting that camaraderie, and then you're getting that sunlight, and you're getting all these big benefits. And so expect that you're gonna have this like instability about, like, if it's a behavior or something that's toxic that you're getting rid of, you need to find time or a skill or a person to help fulfill that, because there is going to be a void. There was a reason that you did that toxic behavior in the first place. And so it's important that we look at the root of what was creating or triggering, or like the need or the want to have that behavior in your life. So then after that, I mean, if it's the idea of even just like being more independent, or feeling more in our own power or our own strength, that is an absolutely terrifying or scary thing. So if I haven't had the highest expectations of myself, and then all of a sudden I decide to have higher expectations of myself, then it's gonna sit with me differently. And that's going to pull on me and weigh on my heart or on other areas of my life differently. And so it is important to remember to give yourself some leniency and some space. As it pertains to people, especially toxic people that we're going to let go of, it is okay to mourn the loss of those people no longer in your life. At the end of the day, again, those people to serve the purpose of friendship or love or support or stability, whatever it was, there was a reason that you had them in your life at that significant time. And so maybe it's you're mourning the loss of what could have been, or you're mourning the loss of what once was. And it is okay to do that. And it's okay to know, you're giving me half energy, or half love, or half acceptance, or half, you're just meeting me halfway, and I deserve, or I'm going to act on it to get full 100% participation of myself or my behaviors. And so I'm going to need to create and draw a boundary or a barrier with that person. But it's okay to be selfish in that aspect and claim that space. But it's also okay to understand that even though you are moving towards a better or bigger purpose, it's okay to feel rocky or unsure about what is to come, because that's the whole part of knowing that you're worth it, or that you're worthy, or that you're capable, is that you have hope in yourself. So that uncertainty comes down to more of our self-esteem than it comes down to our ability and or who we are as people, because we have to believe that we are worthy and capable of deserving and needing more from not only ourselves but the people that we surround ourselves with. I also think that, toxic people get a bad rep. And I'm sure you're thinking, like, yeah, because they're toxic, and what do you mean by that? But genuinely, I say this because toxic people are teachers. Just as loving people are, so are toxic people. We know more of what we don't want. We know more of what we do want. And it's resistance, toxic environments, or people that teach us that we are no longer at a vibrational alignment with the people or the environment that we are in. And so it's telling us that our soul or our person, our purpose, that we have a bigger, greater calling. And so that's why it doesn't feel good. And so sometimes resistance and toxic environments and people come up to push us closer to our alignment and closer to those that we were meant to be all along the way. There is a beauty in learning through lessons and not necessarily feeling like they were mistakes. And so toxic situations and people have this energy to them that makes it or solidifies this idea that there is more or there is a lesson to be learned here. And I've known in my own past, I tell you this, that like 3 years ago when my life blew up and I went through my own little awakening and it was like super overwhelming. I think what was so hard about that was that I knew I would be fine because I'd always been fine in the past, but it was so heavy and so much that I was like, and I couldn't make sense of it. But I think now the difference is when I go through something, I realize that it's creating the purpose in my life. It's not necessarily the mess, but it is getting me closer and closer to the bigger picture of what I have worked on or manifested, or it's a reminder of what I do want. And so sometimes I have to remind myself to think about that again and say, is this resistance drawing me closer and closer in alignment to who I want to be and what I truly want in my life and how I truly want to fulfill that? And oftentimes the answer is yes. And so then I'm more likely to be grateful for it. And I have to look on, and this is where it's important to look on the gratitude or the gratitude portion of this whole situation, because it's when I take the resistance or the toxicity and I look at it from a side of being the victim or blame or anger or frustration. It enables me to not be able to look at my life from the perspective of this is opportunity and room for growth, or I'm thankful for opportunities in people or situations. And so I highly encourage you to say, where are you framing this toxic person? Is it toxic from your perspective, or is it toxic in general, like as a whole, or is it something that is negative but has the silver lining? And once you look at the silver lining, you can look at the opportunity and then start manifesting more and more of what you do want. So I think that's huge. But really, I'm gonna say this point blank again, it comes down to worth. Even realizing that something was toxic for you doesn't make them less worthy of you, or doesn't make your job less worthy of you, but it's not, because it's not about them, it's not about the job, it's not about all that other stuff. It's actually about you. You are the sole person that's in control of your destiny, and they are only impacting it. You are in control of how all of that stuff makes you feel, but again, you are in control of your own shit. Like, you're in control of your own self and you're in control of your own life. And with that being said, when you are in control, think of how much power that is, and that gives you to rule and to do things in your own right and step in your own power and your own glory. But most important, when you look at it from the perspective that you are the one that's in control, it gives you a moment to just like take a second to breathe on something and to realize that I have the ability to create and manifest what I want in my life. And not only do I have that, I am worth it, and I am worthy, and I am enough. And so it comes down to you believing that you deserve something greater, something more. And so I ask yourself to, when you're on that fence of sitting there in that uncomfortableness, explore those reasons of why you are worth it. And if you don't feel like you're worth it, or if you feel guilty of being worth it, or feel guilty of deserving it, take some time and explore, where did this idea come from? What do I need to let go of it? Explore it with another provider, explore it with a friend, but remember to be kind to yourself in the process. Friends, it was fun. I hope you guys are all having a great day. Know that I'm relaxing somewhere, and I will stay tuned with you on what to expect. So have a beautiful Sunday and take care. Bye-bye.